Alright, so in this video, we'll talk about the examples of melters, examples of non-melters, of semi-melters, and the noble gases, the transition melters, and all that. But we're going to start with the examples of melters. Examples of melters. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you a comprehensive examples of melters, as well as your symbols, that so you can memorize that. Now, the first thing you have to understand is that melters are found on the left hand side of the periodic table, the left hand side, while non-melters are found on the right hand side. We'll get there shortly. But first and first, melters are found on the left hand side. Now, one of the example of melter is the symbol called lithium, right? Lithium. And so, like I told you, I'm giving you the name of the element as well as the symbol. Lithium is Li. You have to understand that. Another example of melter is this particular one. Sorry about it. Is this one? Sodium. Sodium. All right. So sodium is Na. So know that. Another example of melter is potassium. Potassium. Potassium, the symbol is K. All right. Another good example of melter is this one. That is calcium. Calcium is Ca. That's calcium. All right. Another good example of melter is magnesium. 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 And that symbol is Mg. Mg. Another good example of a melter is beryllium. Beryllium is a melter. Beryllium. And that is Be, the symbol, right? Another good example of a melter is rubidium. Rubidium. Rubidium is also a melter, and the symbol for rubidium is Rb. Rb. So these are some of the most common examples of melters. Then another good example of a melter is Fr. That's francium. Francium, whose symbol is Fr. Alright. Then we also have cesium. Cesium is another good example of a melter. Cesium. The symbol is Cs. So please just commit these examples of melters to memory. They're extremely important. You know them. Lithium all the way down to cesium. And by the way, francium and cesium are the two most reactive melter in chemistry. Now let's move on to examples of non-melters. All right, now let's see examples of non-melters. Non-melters. All right, so we said that melters are found on the left-hand side, but non-melters are found on the right-hand side of the table. That's the periodic table. And so we have a couple of examples here right now. The first example of non-melter we're examining is this particular element, hydrogen. Hydrogen is a non-melter. The non-melter. And the symbol is H. So please know both the names and the symbol, extremely important. Though hydrogen is a non-melter, but it is found on group 1. Group 1 on the periodic table. That's the group of melters. So another example of a non-melter that we have is nitrogen. That's a non-melter. Nitrogen. The symbol is N. Another example of a non-melter that we have is chlorine. Chlorine. The symbol is Cl. Another good example of a non-melter rather that we have is what's it called now? Fluorine. And the symbol for fluorine is F. And by the way, fluorine you see, right, is the most reactive non-melter. So in case you are asking a chemistry test, know that for a fact that fluorine is the most reactive non-melter, and by far it is also the most reactive element overall in the entire periodic table. All right, so know that. Another good example of a non-melter is oxygen. Oxygen. The symbol for oxygen is O. Please know that. Another good example of a non-melter that we have is what's it called now? Boron. Sorry, not boron, rather bromine. Bromine is a non-melter. Another good example, that's Br. Another good example of a non-melter is iodine. Iodine is a non-melter as well. And the symbol for iodine is I. These are examples of non-melters I'm giving to you right now. Then we also have, we have others as well. We have astatine, we have tellurium and all that stuff. All those examples of non-melters. It's good you know them. But these are the most common examples of non-melters that you have to commit to memory. Now, let's move into the examples of semi-melters, please. All right. Examples of semi-melters. Semi-melters. All right. Semi-melters, they are actually found on group 4 of the periodic table. Group 4 of the periodic table. That's where you find semi-melters. Now, there's several examples of semi-melters, but the two most common examples that you have to memorize is this: silicon, which has a symbol Si, and germanium, which has a symbol of Ge. So like I told you, there's so many examples, but these two examples are the two most common example of semi-melters. Now let's move into the noble gases. Now let's examine examples of noble gases. All right, first thing you have to understand is that noble gases are found on group 8. Group 8 on the periodic table. It's either you call them group 8 or group 0. Group 8 or group 0. Please know that for a fact. And a few things you have to understand as regards noble gases is that firstly, noble gases are considered inactive. All right? Yes. They're also called the inert gases or rare gases. So in a typical chemistry test, if you don't see if you don't see noble gases, you can either see inert gas or rare gas. So please commit all three to memory. These are the three names you can call group 8 elements. You can either call them noble, inert, or rare, and they are considered inactive. Now let's look at the examples here. Some examples of noble gases that we have. Helium, it's a noble gas rather. Helium, the symbol is He. Please commit both the name and the symbol to memory. Then we have neon. The symbol is Ne. Then also know this argon. Argon has a symbol of Ar. Wonderful. And other examples of noble gases that we have are krypton. Krypton, the symbol for krypton is Kr. Other examples of noble gases you have to understand is xenon. Xenon, the symbol is Xe. Another example of a noble gas you have to know is radon. The symbol for radon is Rn. So please commit all of this to memory. Advise you take them down so you don't forget them. Now let's move into the last example right now. Let's see examples of the transition melter. Another very important part of elements that we'll need to talk about. And let's see examples of transition, examples of transition melters. Now, transition, what you have to understand is that they are found between group 2 and 3 on the periodic table, and examples of them, that's the transition melters. We have copper in this list. By the way, most of you don't know the symbol for copper. The symbol for copper is Cu. Do not confuse copper for cobalt. Cobalt is also in transition, but the symbol is Co. You can see that difference right now. So while the symbol for copper is Cu, then we have silver. Most of you also don't know the symbol for silver. The symbol for silver is Ag. It's a transition melter. Then we have gold. Gold, the symbol for gold is Au. To me, that's memory, very important. Then we have scandium. Scandium, as well as the transition melter. Scandium, the symbol for scandium is Sc. By the way, it is a 21st element. Most of you only know the first 20 element, but you don't know what comes after. So what comes after is scandium, that's element number 21. Then other examples of transition melter that we have chromium. Chromium is a transition melter. The symbol for chromium is Cr. Know that, please, very important. That is because you may not always be given the name, you can be given the symbol, so it is behooved of you to know the symbol. Alright, then other examples, iron is also on this list. Iron, the symbol for iron is Fe. Then we also have other examples like nickel. Okay, let me give you zinc first. Like zinc, the symbol for zinc is N. Okay, nickel is also there. Nickel is also a transition, but symbol is Ni. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. So today we did examples of melters as well as their symbols with the transition melters, like we just finished with right now. We did non-melters, we did noble gases and the like. So that is it for this video. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, share this video with your friends so it can help me get across to more people. Also do it to like the video and subscribe for more so I can, post more videos like this. Like I told you, I'm on a quest of finishing the entire chemistry textbook for you. So by extension, every single problem you have in chemistry, and then the same for physics, for mathematics, for use of English, and for biology. So please do not miss any video, and the only way you can do that is by staying subscribed. Alright, that is it for now.